Hey, we will start this one.
The most secretive nation on the planet.
A glimpse inside this infamously secretive country.
I've created the most comprehensive map of North Korea available to the general public. A lot of this is information they would not like to be out in the public. I've centralized it into one place where you can learn anything, their ballistic missile bases, where all the tunnels are, where the palaces are.
Whoa.
The man who inherited the North Korean throne from his father and his grandfather before him.
The Kims rule over a police state that relies on heavy surveillance.
These are intelligent people that have managed to control a country for 3 generations, and they are ruthless.
Well, a U.S. official warns that North Korea could conduct another nuclear test at any time.
They don't care about human rights. They tend to be portrayed as caricatures, but they're not, to have been able to hold on to power. And they're not going to let that go. Some guy in Florida just put that all out there for the public to see. I don't imagine they enjoy it.
I was saying in a previous video that when I was younger, like 2 years ago, I was borderline obsessed with learning about North Korea. Like a YouTuber would drop a video, I watched it. News comes out, I read it. Actually, DW Documentaries channel has one on Kim Jong-un's sister that's worth a watch. I'll link that down below. But it's kind of hard to learn about the country because it's difficult to know what life is like for an everyday citizen there. I mean, even when the media goes there or YouTuber goes there, they're confined to the same cities. I mean, most of the footage is from Pyongyang, which is disproportionately more wealthy than the rest of the country. And then they also do go to some other select cities, but it's hard to know how much of that is propaganda as well. Anyway, I was recommended this video. I don't watch much from Vice, so hadn't seen it before, but we'll see.
My name is Jacob Bogle, and I'm a North Korea analyst. I estimate that I've spent over 7,000 hours mapping and writing about my finds. I've always had an interest for maps, for geography, and so when Google Earth came out, I started playing around on there, and I found that a number of other people had been marking places, especially military places in North Korea, but there were a lot of holes in the data. And so I thought I would take a summer to fill in the missing pieces and have a complete map of the country. It was not so simple, and it has taken a decade. 64,400 places that I've now mapped and verified. I have a personal library with about 30,000 pages worth of material on every topic imaginable related to North Korea. This has nuclear sites, underground sites, archaeological sites. I think we do a disservice when we hide things behind walls.
Military tensions on the Korean Peninsula have recently been boiling.
Successfully testing its first intercontinental ballistic missile, capable of hitting the U.S.
This is exactly the kind of missile the U.S. knew the North Koreans were working on, but we never expected it to be launched this soon.
North Korea's nuclear program goes back pretty much to the beginning of the country.
U.S. intelligence sources indicated the North was trying to produce highly enriched uranium. It is a required ingredient in the most powerful, compact nuclear weapons.
In the town of Pyeongsan, they have one of these uranium milling plants. And what they do is there's a coal mine. Coal actually has uranium in it, and so they take the coal as the uranium ore and process it. In that process, they produce a lot of waste material, the leftover burnt coal, a lot of toxic chemicals.
So this is the Pyeongsan uranium mill, this is the factory, and this is where all the sludge and stuff gets dumped. Material is brought in through this pipeline, through this pipe that runs across the river. You see this splotch right here, this dark colored area. This is March 2019. We have it, and then we can see it spilling into the river itself right here.
People who analyze and study Google Maps like this are so interesting to me. Like, beyond the geoguessers of it all. If you can think of a video that gets into Google Maps, and maybe the oddities of some Google Maps, please tell me. I'd like to watch it on the channel.
It was picked up by South Korean media.
북한이 우라늄 폐기물을 강으로 유출시키고 있다는 아주 안 좋은 소식입니다. 미국의 한 전문가가 위성 사진을 분석했는데요. 예성강을 따라서 우리 연평도하고 강화도 근해까지 오염됐을 가능성을 제시하고 있습니다.
I started going back through the historic imagery and noticed that this isn't just, bare dirt or something. This is a leak. and it's leaking directly into a river that provides water for agriculture and drinking water for thousands of people in North Korea. And then that flows into South Korean waters and eventually out into the Yellow Sea.
The color alone is alarming.
In North Korea, the individual is not important. The group is important. So you can have terrible working conditions, you can have toxic material flowing into drinking water, and they don't really care.
North Korea's conventional military forces, the tanks, troops, and artillery, are falling increasingly behind the capabilities of South Korea and the U.S. The North Soviet hardware is aging. Spare parts are becoming more difficult to secure.
They couldn't survive, they wouldn't win against a direct aerial combat. And so they've been taking small steps, but steps nonetheless, to increase survivability.
So this is Koksan Air Base. At the end of the runway, you have this nice little square right there. And in this case, it's just compacted sand. So 2014, it's not there. You can see jets lined up, move forward in time. 2015, brand new, nice arrestor pad.
They've already installed arrestor pads at the end of runways. These are engineered materials that give way whenever an aircraft hits it, to slow the aircraft down, stop it, but to not damage the aircraft any further. So, you know, small things, but potentially important things in a conflict.
Can someone please explain the significance of that to me?
North Korea was a creation of World War II. Japan had occupied the Korean Peninsula, and when the Allies defeated Japan, the Soviets and the Americans wanted to split territory, and so they drew just an arbitrary line across the Korean Peninsula and created a South Korea and a North Korea. A few years later, you had the Korean War, which is when North Korea tried to take over South Korea, and with their almost defeat, it became very important for them to classify just about everything. Even demographics are state secrets, so we don't have an accurate figure of the population of North Korea.
They're insanely good at choreographed routines.
This family has kept a hold on this country for 70 years by propagating this myth that they are some kind of quasi-deities who have this divine right to rule.
North Korea's society is stratified. They have a class system despite technically not having a class system. And you do have this maybe 10, 15,000 people, top of the top elite. They almost all live in Pyongyang. Some of them live in mansions, others live in luxury apartments. But then you have the Kim family, who have a dozen or so mansions spread out throughout the country.
In this particular building right here, this is Kim Jong-un's personal, this is where he actually lives.
Oh.
These two pyramids are actually, one is a dining hall and then one has a swimming pool inside.
How does he know that?
So that's a pretty unique feature.
One thing that you can tell using satellite imagery about what's going on with the elite is when something gets built or when something gets demolished.
Dictator Kim Jong-un has executed 70 officials since coming to power in late 2011.
This is what Kim Jong-un is showing the people within North Korea. This is what he is telling to the elite.
These are the mansions that were demolished. Early 2011, they're still there, and then they're gone.
And that coincides with purges of top officials. Some were executed, some were sent to prison camps.
They said, we're not just going to get rid of you, we're going to get rid of every trace of you. Shoot.
I mean, North Korea is a country of 26 million people. They live their daily lives there. They're happy, they're sad, they get married, they die. They want a better life for their children. There have been a number of North Korean state-sponsored agents that have tried about half a dozen times to hack into my systems to get emails, databases, and so on. Yeah, cheap people are going to want to try to stop you. It's just, it is part of the job, and you just have to deal with it, really. In North Korea, there's always something new going on, and I think this is a project that's going to go on for a number of years to come.
I wonder who he works for, or if that was just a solo passion project, but he is dedicated. I learned more about uranium than I previously knew watching this video. I'll go ahead and link it down below. It's from Vice. I didn't know they still made videos like this, but Vice.com is no longer, so RIP Vice. I'll make sure to link the documentary I mentioned before. It gets into Kim Jong-un, his dad, his granddad, his sister, a little bit about his daughter at the end as well. Again, it's hard to know how much of it is real and how much of it are gap fills by us. And by us, I mean whoever wrote the video, and how much of it is propaganda. Propaganda coming from both sides. But back to Google Maps, because it's insane what we can do with satellite imagery and data. I've yet to see a Google Maps car driving around, but this man's whole job is predicated on its existence. I'll definitely be looking for a video on Google Maps to watch here on this channel. Leave your thoughts on this one. So this is a book I was recommended the last time we watched a video on North Korea, which was the Geography Now episode. But it's called Escape from Camp 19 by Blaine Harden. It's supposedly the true story of a man who escaped from a North Korean prison camp. And I say supposedly because I've read conflicting things about it, but I mean, it makes sense to me that if that story really did happen, I could imagine that the man lived experiences that he doesn't want to disclose, and the writer is a journalist, so maybe there were some gaps that were filled by him. I'm not sure, maybe somebody watching will know a little bit better about that than I do. But his brother and mother were executed. He talks about how food was really scarce, and he would flip into this survival mode of wanting to have food so bad that it would pit him against his own family. And then he talked about the prison guards. It's really intense. But whether the story is 100% true or not, it's very well written. So I will link a copy of that in the description for you. I can't say that I've heard any North Korean music besides the choreographed dances that we see on documentaries and stuff. And as far as South Korea, I don't listen to much music from there either. I'm not a big K-pop fan. If you have any song recommendations for me, please let me know. But Asia's a very big continent. I've recommended music from South Asia in the past. We'll just go with my default, jazz. Shintaro Sakamoto is a composer from Japan. He makes really beautiful music to have on in the background. Another one in the jazz genre is Hiroshi Suzuki, also from Japan. The song is called Cat. I didn't mention the song name for the first track because it's in Japanese script, so I can't even attempt to read that for you. But please let me know if you have any other music recommendations. I check them all out. And that's really all from me on this one. So thanks for sending it in. Thank you for watching with me, and I'll catch you in the next.